Hi everyone, my name is Sienna Ruiz, and today I'm going to be discussing the stigma of mental health within cultures. Today I'm primarily going to be focused on Mexican American and African American cultures. So, to begin, when there is stigma against those with mental health disorders, individuals tend to not use the resources given to them. Mexican American and African American cultures are reported to have higher stigma and negative connotations towards mental health in those with mental health issues, meaning that they tend to think more negatively towards these individuals, whether that be in some of the studies it found that some children tended to be more fearful of those individuals, or they tended to think that those individuals wouldn't be able to get better, and so they tried to stay away from those individuals. These two groups are also less likely to receive the behavioral health services they need, and in turn, this causes higher rates of more severe mental health effects, such as suicide or long term health effects that may affect the body, like IBS. In this poster, we're going to dive into Mexican American and African American culture, the effects of culture and mental health, and how we can try to solve this issue of the lack of treatment and cultural bias in mental health within these groups so those who need it can get treatment. The charts below are from SAMHSA, and these highlight the behavioral health disparities within these two cultures. The top chart is the disparities among Hispanics, and in red we can see that it means substance use disorder, and in Hispanics it's around 3.3 million. The light blue is any mental illness, and as you can see for Hispanics it's 6.9 million, and the green is serious mental illness, and that is 1.5 million. In African Americans, in red we can see substance use disorders is 2.3 million, and the light blue for African Americans is 4.8 million, which is any mental illness, and the green is 1.1, which is serious mental illness. And since these are such high numbers for these two minority groups, I think that this shows that we should pay close attention to how the stigma affects how these two cultures get treatment and how it affects them from not being able to get the treatment they need. So, Mexican American culture and beliefs. Hispanic Americans deal with many cultural values and beliefs, one being that they are very family oriented. Mexican Americans try to fulfill family obligations, they value being hardworking, and think more in a group orientation or a we mindset. Hispanics also have a history of facing discrimination in the United States, and because of this history and their belief system, they are less likely to come forward and seek help when dealing with mental health issues. One reason being they don't want to seek judgment from their inner circle and peers, and another being lack of trust toward the health officials. Personally, being Mexican American, I recognize and have experienced the bias our culture has with mental health issues. It is frowned upon to discuss these issues. When I was experiencing these problems, I felt helpless. At first, when I came forward, I was treated different, but once I shared my struggles, others started to also come forward with their similar experiences or struggles. So I found that from confronting these hidden biases, we not only help ourselves get help and feel better, but we also help others get the help that they need. If we don't talk about it, nothing will change. In the chart below from Pew Research Center, it shows the population of Mexican origin individuals living in the United States. And the light green is US born and dark green is foreign born. In my research, by going through these articles, I found that depressive symptoms or symptoms of depression are really common in Latin American individuals, Latinas specifically, with Latinas experiencing these symptoms at 53%, meaning that 53% of Latinas have symptoms of depressive or depression disorder. The population of Mexican origin individuals in the United States is over 36 million. the Mexican American population is large, and so statistics of mental health issues from this culture are important to take note of. In African American culture and beliefs, African Americans tend to also be family oriented, not only to their inner circle, but also to extended family and ancestors. They believe that group orientation is more important than being individualistic. This is contradictory to the United States mentality and much Eurocentric mentalities, which are usually very individualistic. African Americans also value cooperation, interdependence, and commonality of individuals. Something else important to note is the history of slavery, because all African Americans share this common history. And when it comes to African Americans seeking treatment, I think it's important to note that although there tends to be statistics that show their similarities in having stigma against mental health like Hispanics, there is also a difference of struggle that they face. With African Americans, there are also issues of the counselor to client relationship with mental health. Some therapists might not know the history, cultural background, or beliefs of their client, and therefore there could be a gap in understanding and the communication between a therapist and client. The U.S. Census posted that the population of African Americans in the United States is over 48 million. And this is a pretty huge number too. And I think this shows, again, that we should focus on these two groups when discussing mental health and the stigma that might be within it, because we could be helping a lot of people who are experiencing these struggles. So the mental health stigma in adolescence. Recently, mental health problems in adolescence has increased. 22% of adolescents have a severe mental health disorder in the United States. And 1 in 5 of the youth experience mental health issues, but only about half get treatment. Adolescents who experience these struggles but don't receive treatment have risk of developing worse problems later in life, such as substance abuse, suicide, imprisonment, health problems, and others. Hispanic and African American adolescents have been proven to not get the treatment they need, and one reason for this is due to parent bias towards mental health. It's been shown through studies that pretty much if the bias towards mental health is shown by the parents, and that it tends to be presented in the children through their actions also towards those with mental health, but also when they grow up, they tend to have these same feelings and biases towards individuals with mental health. So in conclusion, Mexican American, African Americans experience high rates of mental health problems and don't get the proper treatment that they need. Part of this is due to cultural bias, but part is also due to the education of therapists. We can fix this by making sure therapists are more well-rounded in understanding the background of their patients so that they can properly help and communicate with them. Another way we can fix this is through educating adolescents and adults from both cultures on mental health to change preconceived notions so that they are able to not have as much bias and get the help they need when they need it. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this presentation.